welcome to CNBC TV18.com presents Digital Bharat 2.0 in association with AWS, where we put the spotlight on the digital transformation journey of SMEs. Now, with the advent of Industry 4.0, businesses are being reimagined in the new landscape with advanced production and operations and smart digital technologies to create a digital enterprise that can communicate, analyze, and use data to its full potential. With increased investment in foundational technologies such as cloud and Internet of Things, India is at a tipping point where, if the right steps are taken in time, the face of the Indian business landscape, particularly MSMEs, which account for more than 29% of GDP, will transform entirely. The manufacturing sector has already begun its digitalization transition with $5.5 to $6.5 billion invested in Industry 4.0 in FY21. Today, I'm joined by a special panel of experts who will delve deeper into the subject of gauging the potential of Industry 4.0 in transforming SMBs. I have with me Gurmukh Malhotra, Principal Business Development AISPL, Devendra Kamtekar, Head Solution Architects, SMB AWS, Anshul Dhingra, Founder and Principal Consultant, MSME Center of Excellence, Rajendra S. Rajamani, Managing Director, Rajamani Industries, and Vice President, Indian Machine Tools Manufacturers Association. And of course, finally, we have Rajiv Chawla, Chairman, Integrated Association of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises of India. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining us today. Anshul Dhingra, let me start with you. Anshul, Industry 4.0 is anticipated to reach $200+ billion in revenue by 2025. Tell me, what does this mean for the future of SMEs and what will be the role of SMEs in realizing this projection?
Yeah. So now I will start with a little different introduction of SMEs. You have already shared there. They are really the backbone. They are the backbone of an Indian economy. Right now, they contribute to 29% and more of the GDP. So SME, if you see, it's not just any other entity, or if we compare them, they are an entity which has aspiration. They started with a lot of struggles and challenges. For SMEs, Industry 4.0, or known as the fourth industrial revolution, could be a realization of their dream for which they have started, the purpose for which they have started these SMEs, that is to become a global player, that is to compete with the global player. So this could be a lot. This will mean a lot for SMEs when they are moving ahead in this competitive environment, and they will be able to utilize all the levers, or rather we can say the pillars of SMEs, or rather Industrial Revolution 4.0, that is digital transformation. If we talk about, they will have access to more data so that they can enhance their real-time decision-making power. It will enhance their productivity and efficiency in every aspect of their work and output and productivity. There will be a lot of encouragement towards flexibility. They will be more agile towards how they have to move forward in the VUCA environment. And last but not the least, it will lead to consistent innovations. And this is what is all required to take them to more revenues and more profitability and make them and really help them in fulfilling their aspirations. More than the money, it's all about the aspirations and their meaning to their sacrifices. But said this, I would also like to share that there is a lot which needs to be done. There is a lot which needs to be done for SMEs before making any tall claims about 200 billion economy or anything in future. There is a lot which needs to be done at the roots level, and that's what. And SMEs have the potential, they have the power, intention, passion, everything which is required, but they need a very hard support system. That's what I can say.
Absolutely, Anshul. A lot needs to be done, and SMEs have the potential. And I like the fact that you mentioned there will be constant innovation, interesting insights there. Let me quickly move on to Gurmukh here. Gurmukh, what are the most significant technologies available in Industry 4.0 for SMEs in which they can invest in order to scale up?
Absolutely, and thank you for having us here. So fundamentally, when we talk about Industries 4.0, what are we talking about? As you know, famous people have said in multiple forums, data is a new oil. So it's all about data. So at the core of Industries 4.0, or all the innovation, is data. Now, it's not just about picking the data, it's about making sure that you're able to take that data, you're able to synthesize it, you are able to keep it, you are able to secure it, you're able to then use it for analytics, for machine learning, for all the innovation which you wish to drive, which results into just-in-time decision making for you, so that you are able to do what our colleague just said. You are able to drive more innovation, you are able to drive agility. Because I always say it's no longer between big versus small, it's about fast versus slow. So how do you become agile? How do you make sure that you're able to leverage technology to drive innovation in your ecosystem, with your employees, with your vendors, with your customers? And all of that, the foundation of all of that is data, right? And your ability to really use that data as a key competitive long-term advantage for you. So from a technology perspective, if you think about it, there are foundational technologies you got to start with. So SMBs need to think about how do they really put in foundations technology, like convergence of what we call as IT and OT. So you have operational technology, which is traditionally manage all the data, all the machines which are on an assembly line. And you had traditional IT, which is really looking at applications like financial accounting and SAP or ERP and so on. And how do you kind of merge the two together so that you are able to get insights on a real-time basis? And interesting conversations we have with people who are in the OT side of business, which are very different conversations. Their care abouts are very different as against IT side of conversation. So how do we bring that together? So that's the foundation piece of it. And from there, you got to think about, if you are going to be a digital first enterprise, if you're going to be a digital first a company, how do you secure that data? How are you going to make sure that your asset, which is now digital in nature, which is no longer your physical shop floor, but something which is digitally available, how do you make sure that you are able to secure that information? Then going ahead, right? What pandemic taught us was that we have to start thinking of different workforce models. So how is that you're going to integrate your entire workforce into a single pane of glass? How is that you're going to make sure they're still available to you? They're still available to deliver the results which you want. And at the top end, you've got to now start thinking as a digital first organization, what are your compliance requirements? How is that you're going to make sure that you're compliant through and through? How is that you are aligning with all the ecosystem requirements, which are whether your tax filing, your GST, your making sure that you are compliant with all the labor laws, and all of that in a one streamlined fashion. And the basic tenet of all of that is data. So right from foundation to really where you are able to create a virtual workforce, where you are able to automate, where you are able to get more out of the same infrastructure, where you are able to enhance your productivity, the entire value chain, there are technologies which are available. And what is the good news? Good news is they're not complex. Good news is you can start small, you can scale as your business needs grow, and really make sure that you are agile, you're innovative, and you're staying ahead of competition.
Absolutely. We spoke about the technologies that SMEs need to invest in today. And I like the fact that you said that it's no longer about big versus small. It's all about fast versus slow. And, we spoke about the technologies, but let me quickly get in Rajendra here and, let's talk about the trends. What technology trends are you witnessing in the machine tool industry in the wake of Industry 4.0?
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to this forum on the Industry 4.0. The metalworking machines are basically the backbone of the whole industry, as you all know, and we are looking at Industry 4.0 revolution in a very big way. This is referred to as the future of manufacturing, and effectively fused with automation and digitization. Integrating machines is going to become very, very important. And for us, one of the most critical aspects of this entire integration is what we are looking at is sensorization. Sensors are playing quite a very big part in this whole what do you say, the whole business of Industry 4.0 is leading to a lot of automation of machines and subsystems, and it's also becoming an enabler of data generation and capturing. Another big trend which we are seeing is in the machine tool industry is energy monitoring of machines and subsystems, because nowadays the customers are really asking the put of the energy which is being utilized. A lot of SMEs are getting into this ERP implementation, and we see here that the Industry 4.0 plays a very important part when the ERP is being implemented between the end user and the customer. Another important issue which we are also seeing is overall equipment efficiency. This is one of a big trend we are seeing, that effectively see that their machines are up on a very high level of overall efficiency which is there. Another big important improvement which we see is, and the benefit what we see of 4.0 is the real-time monitoring and the display of production. This is very vital for any SMEs, and I'm sure this is also paying. And I can say from my side that from the machine tool industry that today the machine tool and the subsystems are getting geared up to provide these type of systems to a lot of customers to the industry right now.
Interesting trends there, from real-time monitoring to integrating machines is very, very important. Devendra, let me quickly get you in. How can SMEs make the most of the different technological and data-driven advancements to adapt, evolve, and grow? We've spoken about what technologies they need to invest in to scale up. We've spoken about the trends. But tell me, how can SMEs really make the most by using differential technological and data-driven advancements?
Thank you so much. I think, first of all, thanks the panel for giving some background. But I think the first step for SMEs is to really go ahead and embark on the digital transformation journey, right? The basic fundamental block, like Gurmukh spoke about, is to embark on this digitization journey, which it helps to address two key challenges which we look at in the industry, right? The first one is how to increase revenue, which Anshul spoke about. And the second one is, how to reduce operational overheads, right? These are the two critical areas that the industries are facing today. And each one of them could basically have a lot of subheadings. For example, increased revenue could mean faster time to market. Operational overheads could basically mean, trying to reduce maintenance times and basically trying to go online, right? So what we see is, if you look at Industry 4.0, Industry 4.0 has 9 pillars, and one of the biggest pillar out of that is cloud. And the reason why I say so is cloud becomes an enabling factor for the remaining 8 pillars that basically helps to drive digitization. And the 8 pillars that we are basically talking about is AR, VR, IoT, security, you name them. These are the fundamental building blocks for any SME to get on the digitization journey. And I think cloud is the first stepping stone towards that.
Okay. All right. So cloud is the stepping stone for driving digitization. And you spoke, of course, about the 8 pillars. Let me get in Rajiv here. Rajiv, what are some of the game-changing technologies that have altered the way small and medium-sized manufacturers function today?
Hello, everybody. And see the manufacturing sector, and I represent the MSMEs. So I'll focus my comments and the observations that I look around in the SME sector. There are some technologies that have actually penetrated and are growing very fast. Technologies like, for example, 3D printing, the additive manufacturing, as we say. Now, this is now fairly common, and especially in areas where the numbers are less, but the precision requirements are extremely high. For example, the aeronautical sector and the aerospace sector. Some other high technology manufacturing, high precision manufacturing. So the 3D printing is one area which is now becoming fairly common. And and not just in the high-tech engineering, even in common sphere like the gems and jewelry sector, the printing of the jewelry and many other things. This is now reaching out, and the customization as the customers demanded. This is something which is happening through this technology. Advanced robotics is another, high, fast-changing technology, which is increasingly being absorbed. Till now, robotics was only a part of some large corporations, but now advanced robotics is reaching out to the SME sector, and many critical operations on the shop floors, etc., are managed through this area. Electric vehicle, as if we see the change of fuel from ICs to EVs, now that is taking place very fast, and with that, a lot of changes inside the entire automobile, inside the two-wheelers and three-wheelers and the four-wheel. And especially if you see, you'd realize that more than 500 players in the SME sector are today in the EV segment. So that is another very fast growing technology area which is drawing the attention of the SME sector. Likewise, blockchain technologies. I mean, the whole world talks about blockchain technologies, and that is what is becoming day-to-day life. There are some controversies where, in fact, even the government does not even know whether they should control some of these technologies, and how, if they want to control them, how they should control. But then, by and large, blockchain technologies are actually an area where SME sector is using this. And then two more things which I would like to make mention. One is the artificial intelligence, which is now reaching out. When we talk about the data collection, the cloud computing, and many other areas where the SMEs are engaged in, cloud computing, and then its delivery to the artificial intelligence, that is now happening in many decision-making processes in the SME area. And then, of course, one is the Internet of Things, the IoT, or the Industry 4.0, where the machine-to-machine communication, the machine-to decision-making communication, the customer to operational level, to the delivery level, to the demand level, and then right up to the shop floor, the manufacturing. Some of these things are getting integrated. So these are some areas. I mean, of course, there are specialized technologies now which are entering. For example, the drones area is one. The agriculture sector could be another, where genome and other things are taking place. So every sector, has its own set of high-end technologies that are coming into. But by and large, the engineering and the automobile and the manufacturing segment that I mentioned, these were the technologies.
All right. So the game-changing technologies for SMEs in the manufacturing sector, like you listed, 3D printing, robotics, IoT, AI, cloud computing, we've got EVs, and of course, blockchain. Let me quickly get back Anshul here. Anshul, more and more traditional SMEs are transitioning their resources to digitalization, and more so after this pandemic, especially, everyone's gone digital. Tell me, how is digitalization helping SMEs scale their services, help them meet customer expectations, and of course, be part of the competition as to speak of?
Yes. So if we talk about now digitalization, as everybody mentioned now, digitalization is for SMEs right now is not really a choice. Maybe 3 years back when we talk about digitalization, they were not so open to it. But right now, it is really not a choice for them. It is rather a necessity. And this necessity will only bring now stability to their business performance and will broaden their reach in future. Now, when they are in this VUCA world where anything can happen in the world and can affect their economy and their work, when we are in such a volatile environment, digitalization right now is a step forward for them. Now, if we understand Indian MSMEs, how the whole ecosystem was working. Now, traditional MSMEs were working with a basic approach that they were segmenting, or they were actually catering to a local market in a D2C way, or they were a value chain as a component of a value chain for a bigger organizations, which they were predominantly. That is why they are at the roots. and they needs to be strengthened every time, and hence their importance exists and will exist forever. Now with ever-changing demands, they slowly and started adopting to this digitalization. And as we have seen during the pandemic time, and wherever there is a change in the pricing of the raw material, they are more susceptible to the negative impact of its supply chain, be it labor supply, be it demands of market and the market demands of goods and supplies. Whereas the bigger firms are less susceptible to those negative impacts, and hence coming to digitalization will help them differentiate from their competitors, will help them strengthen more, like e-commerce platforms. I can just, within last two years, I myself will have supported more than hundreds of MSMEs get onto the GEM portal and start utilizing the power which government is providing them right now. And that is have given them an access to not only a trans-state reach, but a transnational market and reach, and has diminished or very much reduced the risk of which they can have from that supply chain. Secondly, as we talk about data, everybody is talking about data. Yes, that data has really helped people manage the real the information and help them in having a real-time decision making, which has significantly reduced their cost of acquisition of client, or be it raw material, managing their raw material, managing their inventories, have a check on their productivity and increase their productivity and efficiency. With small tools which they have utilized, they have increased their customer retention and engagement. They were able to ask people and do surveys, basic things. If you just talk about basics, we are not talking about any big thing right now, just talking basics with MSMEs. They are able to engage their customers and understand the concept of upsell and cross-sell just because of utilizing the power of digitalization. Last but not the least, if you talk about more, when they are increasing their more footprint on digital footprint, when we talk about for MSMEs, they are now more visible to financiers and banks, which has given them more strength or more, they have now the bankers and financiers, if you are adopting digital model, like one example is GEM and other examples, more access to credit facilities could be a possibility for them if they have adopt these technologies. So digitalization is not really a choice, it's a matter, it's a necessity for them right now. But again, I will say every answer is support, creating more success stories by the partners who are utilizing digital technologies, the big players who are implementing and supporting with digital transformation. They must come forward and create more small success stories within small states, small units, empower the industrial associations. Then only you can see a bigger impact for this digital transformation.
Sure.
In fact, I would like to second Anshul on this. He talked about how SMEs are getting, very effective in reaching out to their end customers. And I think today everybody is so obsessed about customer. I think everything starts with customer experience and ends with customer experience. And as long as, SMEs are focused on that, I'm sure their way to, profitability is guaranteed.
Absolutely. Profitability is guaranteed. And of course, like Anshul said, digitalization is not a choice, it's a necessity. And of course, a step forward for SMEs. So cloud acceptance was the first step for SMEs. What is the next step? Devendra, if you can tell us, how can SMEs make the best of the cloud?
Like I said, cloud is the stepping stone towards digitalization. But what we are seeing here is three trends, right? The first trend is a lot of SMEs are looking at cloud from a product and a production engineering standpoint, right? For example, a lot of these services or products needs a lot of simulation, needs high performance computing, and all of this doing on cloud becomes much easier and simpler. The second trend that we're seeing is, a smart automation or smart factories or smart manufacturing, you can call, where we help to bring OT and IT together. And that's where all this data that gets pushed to the cloud can be gleaned to basically give insights from a customer standpoint, from a quality standpoint, from a predictive maintenance standpoint. One of the key factors that a lot of manufacturers talk about is OEE, right? And that becomes a critical way of analyzing using all the data that we collect. That's the second trend. The third one that we see is smart products and services. One of the classical things is in the last 2 years when people were not able to go on site, one of the requirement was how can we do things remotely. So whether it was trying to design things remotely using remote CAD CAM or engineering type of solutions, or basically real time monitoring, remote troubleshooting. These are the kind of new services that people are trying to look at and enhance to bring in scale and viability to the business. So these are the top three trends that we see in the industry, and I think this becomes and based on where they want to start, they can pick one and basically start running with it.
Okay, so
The other thing that I would also like to add is, when you go on to the cloud, it also gives you some of the basic services. So, for example, reliability, scalability, security, and things like that. But one of the values that cloud brings to you is it gives you those specialized services. For example, you can look at services like AWS Monitron. Now, a lot of these services are used for predictive maintenance. They could look at high performance computing, or they could look at solutions from various partner sources like Siemens or LG or things like that. So it's a very complex ecosystem when you talk about manufacturing, and basically to have a lot of these unique services under one roof helps this journey to be slightly safe and successful.
okay, so picking up from what Devendra just said, and what is the potential of Industry 4.0 in building an integrated and improved business ecosystem? Gurmukh would like to hear your views on how does Industry 4.0 basically future-proof the smart manufacturing landscape?
So there was an interesting point which was earlier made around sensorization, right? And that's the single biggest use case which is coming in smart manufacturing. And sensors are being used in pretty much everything. So there's a simple use case, right? When pandemic hit, and you had a situation where the shop floor had to be closed. Why? Because there was one personnel who had contracted COVID, and therefore isolation rule required everybody to be put off the floor. And there are SMBs who have innovated during that particular time, and they've come up with solutions where they've put in sensors aligned with every individual and every workstation on the manufacturing line. So imagine if I was an employee who contracted COVID, the sensors could actually tell me that during the 8 hours when I was on that particular floor, where all did I go, what were the hot spots, and therefore using the 6 meter or 6 feet formula, we could really isolate that X number of employees could potentially get contracted, and therefore I don't need to stop my entire line. I could just isolate those smaller set of people, as an example. Or in machine tooling, right? One of the panelists just said, imagine if you know when a potential part on a manufacturing line is likely to get end of life, so that you can proactively go and change that particular part rather than stopping the line because that particular part failed. Now, I'm really taking very simple examples, but if you really look at the entire complex manufacturing process, and you are able to sensorize and you are able to collect data, and more importantly, not just collect data, but analyze it on a real-time basis, and therefore make proactive decisions which help you be more productive, help you be more efficient. The other point I want to make is that if you think about it, and unlike a lot of belief which people would have, innovation actually comes always from grounds up. It always comes from small medium business. It's the small medium business which starts the innovation cycle, and then over time it becomes the norm in the industry as large companies try and adopt it. So if you think from a small medium business perspective, right, it is extremely important in a digital first economy where your customer is wanting to work with you as digital as a preferred mode of communication, preferred mode of doing business. You have no choice, as rightly said by Anshul, but to work backwards and make sure that you are able to digitize each and every aspect of your process to deliver the outcomes which you want for both for your business and also in the interest of your customers, because eventually it's all about customers. It's how you serve your customers better so that you can create a sustainable competitive advantage for you over a period of time.
Okay, let me shift focus to data, and Gurmukh, you also spoke about it, the importance of data and of course the abundance of data. Rajiv, let me come to you now. The manufacturing sector has been the pioneer of Industry 4.0 transformation. Tell me, how is this extensive data that is available today helping the manufacturing sector?
Well, mostly the SME sector, the SMEs are utilizing this data, which is normally available in the sales circuit. And that is the easiest to adopt. A lot of MSMEs now are reaching out by using the e-commerce platforms and all. That is one very important, a very easy step in, where the data is actually with the technology companies, but the SMEs are able to utilize that data, which is available there on various platforms. Second very important thing that I find is in case of efficiency drives, productivity management. For example, the energy efficiency management. Now, this system, through the use of sensors, which are put across different points in machines on the shop floor, this is giving a lot of data to the SMEs where they are monitoring their energy consumptions and then thereby at some stages correcting and controlling those. Third important thing is in the preventive maintenance. And here there are two aspects. One is that there are certain machines which are preloaded nowadays with some of these softwares and sensors where it is easy to monitor, collect the data. And in fact, I call upon the manufacturers of the capital goods, and I see no reason why they should not mandatorily preload their, machines that they manufacture, different motors that they manufacture, different technologies, manufacturing technologies that they manufacture, which must be preloaded with some of these sensors and which can be easily connected through the IoT, and where the machine manufacturer itself can guide the user on various preventive mechanisms that are happening. Because in a shop floor, typically, for example, I'm a manufacturer myself. There are some machines which are very advanced and which have some of these predictive maintenance things and warnings and other sensors loaded. And there are some old machines where which are still belong to the earlier era. So my point is that the availability of these, this data is extremely important. And then there would come the analysis part of it. So increasingly, entrepreneurs are looking at their own shop floors and looking at their own efficiency drives, their own customer drives, looking at the demands and the sales part of it. Now integrating some of their, accounting, for example, the use of ERP, for example, and then integrating ERP with the GST and other services that are available, which are statutory and mandatory nowadays, the e-billing and the e-invoicing that is now coming into the system. So I believe that irrespective of the size, today every MSME, every SME is integrated, is using this digital data in some form or the other. But then, yes, some of these enterprises are making commercial use and using innovative measures and growing their businesses. And as Dr. Anshul also mentioned, this is what is making the difference between progressive entrepreneurs and enterprises and those who are still moving slow.
All right. Thanks, Rajiv, for talking to us about the technologies and solutions, and most importantly, the analysis of data that will help SMEs get closer to their customers. Rajendra, my next question is for you. How do Industry 4.0 solutions allow manufacturers to monitor their value chain in real time from any part of the world? We spoke about how data can be used, but if you can tell me how 4.0 solutions will allow manufacturers to monitor their value chain in real time.
See, it is one single supply. I mean, was this question to me?
Yes, Rajendra. Yeah, no.
Okay, yeah.
But go ahead, Rajiv. If you want to talk about it, we can start with you and then move on to Rajendra.
Fine. It's all about one supply chain. Earlier I remember we used to follow the Kanban systems, the Toyota line of manufacturing, the just-in-time things, and most of these management systems were monitored manually through Excel files and later on through ERPs and SAPs, and now the whole world is it's all about one single supply chain, and all this integrated through IoT right up to the shop, where the shop floor starts manufacturing what the demand is there happening in the market, and logistics also getting aligned simultaneously. I think it is an amazing supply chain that is being created, which is far more efficient than the mankind ever envisaged. And in terms of integration, it's all as if on autonomous mode. And the way the world is talking about autonomous drives and the driving mechanisms now, I think this entire integration from the customer picking up something in the market to the raw material supplier supplying the same to the manufacturing unit, to the manufacturing unit's shop floor starting the operations, and the logistic company coming and picking up. I think this is it's an amazing supply chain, an integration which is as yet unheard of, but then something which is happening and ever growing exponentially around us.
Rajendra, you agree with what Rajiv just said? Your views on this?
Further adding to what the other panelists said, data gathering has been happening for some time now, maybe about 3 or 5 years. Most of the large MNCs have been moving to this digitization platform, and this information gathering has already started. Maybe this COVID, I mean, if it was not for COVID, maybe this meeting would have been a personal meeting, I suppose. So this COVID has totally enhanced the entire speed of the way the business could be done. Everybody wanted it, but then maybe this was a situation which got in. Cloud is playing a very important part here. We as machine tool builders are now being asked to build machines which would talk to each other. And most of the situation, like what my other speaker said on Kanban and other situations like this, they have moved quite a way into the digital platform. Now, all this was more to do on the marketing or the procurement side. But what we see now in digitization is on the supply, not the supply chain, but we see a lot of data and information moving between the complete value chain in terms of design and operation and quality aspect of it. Inspection is one of the major things which we are seeing as machine builders, where customers are now asking us to submit data digitally on things which are inspected online. This is becoming a very big platform. Sharing of information on design part of it, this is another of the key issues which we are seeing. This is reducing the total development time on the whole thing, on the complete product development cycle of this particular equipment. Equipments are now already fitted with a lot of smart sensors, which can do a lot of information gathering. And with this, what's happening is there's a lot of remote diagnostics, maintenance, and device installations which are happening. One of the major things which I see with the recent 5G connectivity being opened up, we are going to see a very, very big potential for this type of digitalization for the value chain which is there. When I say about value chain, a lot of MSMEs or have already moved into this particular, if the company to whom they're supplying to are on the larger scale of it, now they are looking at a similar approach, which they can go down to their value or their suppliers, which are there. Some of the technologies which I feel is going to play a very, very important part is, of course, I already said about 5G. And once this comes in, then we're going to have AR, VR, and metaverse and all these things which are going to make it much, much easier. Cloud is going to be a very important part of this, and we see a lot of MSMEs adopting cloud technology as it's become more affordable now, and they see the benefits of this in the long run.
Okay, all right. So Rajendra, you spoke about the importance of cloud. Devendra, I want to know from you now that how important is it for SMEs to think about cloud formation and integration services, basically to increase visibility and, of course, optimize the value chain?
See, I think one of the fundamental things why people move to cloud is something that they should not forget. What is it that cloud brings which no other technology can, right? And specifically from a viewpoint of industry 4.0. So if you look, cloud basically helps first, like the panel said, it definitely helps for cost optimization. It has helped to reduce cost from a compute standpoint, from availability standpoint, from a reliability standpoint, right? But one of the key things that brings us to cloud is definitely visibility, monitoring, uh, c- basically clarity of an end-to-end process, right? Because when we integrate IT and OT together, we get an end-to-end visibility of data, which basically helps us first to innovate and bring in differentiated products and services. And second, definitely is to increase our revenue, reduce operational cost, and things like that, right? But one of the things that is very very important to note that the 5 or 6 key factors that affects all of us. The first is the operational excellency. Second is performance efficiency, sustainability, which is a very key thing right now. Security, reliability. I think all of these really gets in a lot of value, and integrating this into a one single platform basically helps us to achieve this from I think the matrix that we want to achieve as
Okay.
organizations from an SME standpoint.
Okay, all right. We've spoken about the importance of Industry 4.0 solutions and how they'll empower SMEs. But what I now want to discuss is what are the key challenges that Industry 4.0 brings to SMEs in India. Anshul, if you can come in here, tell me how can SMEs overcome them alone? What role does the business ecosystem play in enabling a smooth and secure cloud transition for SMEs?
Okay, I think I've got really very valuable input by the discussions which is happening, and I'm making a note as well as a good learner and student. So as what Rajiv ji said,
And you're doing my job as well. Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
the first key important challenge is the lack of awareness in industry. It's not about just 4.0. You know why? It's purely because of what I'm sharing right now is primarily my whole experience. We have been working greatly with Rajiv ji under his guidance. We have launched various projects as well. But if you see, when we are working with SMEs, we need to understand that his lifestyles and his the way he's operating mostly. So there is a lack of awareness. Sometimes there is a willingness issue. Sometimes there is an issue of awareness. So and its benefit. So what happened is normally people are what they are thinking of in their whole ecosystem. They are so much occupied that they don't see beyond what is happening and the benefit. And one more thing which is there is we are not creating all the stakeholders involved in this process, be it digital, be it private player, be it government. We are not creating success stories for the whole life. We are encouraged by success stories. Success attracts success. If we don't create more success stories in this ecosystem, a typical MSME or SME will not be encouraged too much because they are in themselves. Mostly the changes which is happening, be it digitalization of their documents, submitting reports. Right now, it is about bound to do. Correct? Most of the SMEs are now bound to do this. That's why they are coming up.
Yes.
Rather than they should be willing to do it or inspired to do it. That's where every one of us right now here and all stakeholders involved need to structurally and strategically see what they can do to make sure how these MSMEs can be made more aware and more success stories can be created. Second, very important, there is a resistance to change, and because of they have a lot of negative things in the mind. There is a fear of failure right now. Fear of making some big changes post COVID is a part of their ecosystem. They are aspirational, but they have these all kind of challenges. They have a shortage of skilled manpowers. This is a very big issue in implementing Industry 4.0 for them. Now, if they need skilled manpower, they might have an aspiration to get somebody from Amazon or somebody from Siemens to come on board and do the things, but they don't have sufficient funds to invest. Hence, they need to understand the bigger challenges. They don't approach their local administration or local associations to seek help, create clusters, and make price affordable for them. Government has launched cluster schemes, but point is why they should be dependent on them. Why not proactively they come forward? So there are some proactive approach which needs to come from them. Now, typically what happens is normally MSMEs don't have inadequate finance. And this is a common issue every one of us knows. But to implement technology, going towards Industry 4.0, they need to invest. And if they don't invest, they will still struggle with poor technology, low quality productions, low efficiencies. So this is one thing, one very, very important element. There, I believe there need to be a very big effort from the players who want to enter into this, the private players. Now, why this is important? If you consider MSME as your target audience, if you consider them as your customers, don't consider them as your customers. Consider them as your partner in growth. If you're not, it's just not you are having a product and they must buy. Do a lot of initiatives and activities should come from them. Awareness should come from them. They need to set a budget to empower MSMEs, along with initiatives government is taking, so that these three power, if they club, can create miracle in this country and nothing else. Now, the second part you said they can do it alone. They cannot do it alone. They cannot do it alone. And how business ecosystem, I've already shared that business ecosystem, honestly speaking, is the answer to all the challenges of digital transformation. Is the answer. There's a lot which is done right now. If SMEs adopt these, take a support of these business ecosystem, get onboarded, have that awareness, they can develop some new products. They can test their new products, as rightly said by one of the panelists. It requires a low cost to be there, justify research on a product and get it validated whether you want to invest big or not. You can, with your existing customer, you can enlarge your base and engage them. Plus, you can do a research with another whole list of different customers who you really want to approach with your product innovation at a very low and minimum cost. With digital transformation, they have the probability and possibilities of implementing the change process, be it in manufacturing or in their operations or in their whole business ecosystem, which is more, because the processes, it has to be little more through a natural and an agile way. Hence, to conclude, what I'm saying is we need to become a stakeholder. Everybody needs to contribute. We can't just take MSMEs as just one entity or just one customer and consider them that. They need to be empowered in the right way. That's what is my thought. And all the players who really want to enter into this field should club together and make offerings to empower them rather than considering them just as a customer.
All right. Very, very interesting points there. The big challenge clearly is the lack of awareness. We need to create more success stories. There is resistance to change. We need a proactive approach from the government. Private players need to partner SMEs for growth. Very, very interesting points made there, Anshul. But let me bring in Devendra here now. Like we are discussing, SMEs are clearly ambitious, if not aspirational, when it comes to digitalization. But what should they keep in mind before undertaking the smart manufacturing journey?
So I like the passion that Anshul brought to the table. Anshul, you really talked about cost and things like that. So I'll come back to the question later. But Anshul, the whole reason why we are talking about cloud is it gives that effectiveness of moving from a capex-based model to opex, which basically helps to take that first mover advantage into cloud. That could be a stepping stone towards getting to start on the technology journey. But a lot of things that people need to understand, specifically from an SME standpoint, is a lot of times when we try to embark on this Industry 4.0 journey, don't consider this as only a technology journey, right? Because this is not a technology journey. Every journey that you do in Industry 4.0 has to have a business outcome. it has to have the relevant stakeholders along with the tech owners on the same plane. What I really mean is there should be a defined business outcome that you want to achieve in your business that should include all the relevant stakeholders. So whether it is from manufacturing, whether it is from business, whether it is from IT, I think all of the stakeholders should be able to envision what is it that they want to achieve that will create a long lasting impact across the business, and not just in tech or manufacturing or from a business outcome standpoint.
Okay, all right. Let me quickly get on to Rajendra and picking up from what you just said. What challenges can SMEs face when you're adopting for Industry 4.0 manufacturing technologies on the plant floor? What challenges will they face? Rajendra.
See, one of the major things which we have been seeing in our industry and mainly in a lot of MSMEs is the word of Industry 4.0 and cloud are two very big words for any MSMEs. And when we see a lot of presentations being made on this subject, a lot of stress is given on the technology part of it. And maybe here, what the one who's going to implement it and the one who's going to install it or run it, or basically has to show a live case where MSMEs are actually using this. Nowadays, whenever we call somebody to make a presentation on any of these, it's most of the larger institutes which are shown. So maybe that's one of the things. So that's where it puts away most of the MSMEs saying that maybe this doesn't work for my size of industry. So there needs to be a little bit of a case study on the Industry 4.0 and this particular aspect of the cloud aspect of it. The other issue which comes is the top-down approach. The topmost man in the organization first needs to agree that yes, this is required for my industry and I need to do this. And many a times we see that this is mainly forced by maybe your customer that you need to have this facilities, or I don't do business with you. So maybe that needs to be taken up there. The third issue is, where is the skill available for an MSME to implement these type of technologies? I mean, most of the MSMEs which today run, or the MSCs which are run, are just having just enough number of people just to run their organizations. So there's a big talent gap here. So somewhere the government or some of the associations need to put together and train or bring in some people who would actually try to implement these type of systems at an affordable price, is what one of the things which are. Government, yes, they have started doing quite a lot of things. There's no doubt about it. Of course, there is a unique scheme under the enhancement of competitiveness in the Indian capital goods sector. There have been 4 Samarth Udyog centers which have been established already in different parts of the country. And we are seeing this being used in a very big way. Also, we have a couple of these running in CNTI and Indian Institute of Technology. And maybe the cloud platform would be one of the, unlike AWS has been a pioneer in this particular aspect of it. Maybe they need to come out with more live cases of applications of these in a lot of these MSME applications. I think that would bring in a lot of idea to many of the MSMEs who would like to implement these particular.
Sure. Picking up from what Rajendra just said and coming to you, Rajiv, now, there are several organizations that are empowering India's SMEs ecosystem, such as AWS, right, like Rajendra mentioned, as a technology partner. What gaps do you believe need to be filled in order for Indian SMEs to truly reach their potential in the 4.0 era?
Thank you for asking me this question, because this is something which I really wish to tell every technology supplier, technology creator, and those who bring technologies to the world of SMEs. Somehow, at the SME, the grassroots level, the impression has always been that most of these technologies have only been developed for the large corporates. So whether it was ERP or SAP once upon a time, to many of these technologies, once made for some large corporate, and then thrust down upon the other segments. So by the virtue of it, I mean to say that many of these things are still not customized. Second thing is that most of the IT companies or technology companies, they still do not speak the language that SMEs understand. And it is so very important for an entrepreneur to understand what exactly the technology means, what exactly the benefits, how it would percolate, what is the ROI, and things like those. Third is the level of simplicity. And let me talk about what nowadays we hardly consider technology, and I'll talk about ERP. Even ERP implementation is still date a huge challenge. And how I wish it's as simple as playing a video game. I mean, young kids play very complicated video games so easily, and they don't join any coaching institute to play video game. But why do we need to train and retrain and continuously struggle with implementation of ERP also? Somehow the technology has not been very user friendly, and I believe that some gamification there is very important. Another thing is that now again I'll take a cue. For example, in a complex ERP, there are various modules: accounting module, HR module, production, quality, sales, etc. Likewise, the technology providers providing Industry 4.0 technologies, they also need to provide step-by-step solutions, which entrepreneurs, for example, some of these low-hanging fruits, in terms of predictive maintenance or preventive maintenance, then the consumption monitoring, the energy efficiency modules, the use of sensors, which immediately bring in huge savings, then integrating those to the sales software or the ERPs or the other things that the entrepreneur is using, and then finally integrating the entire shop floor through machine to machine, etc. So my point is that IT companies or technology providers which are bringing these solutions must understand how this kind of an approach will give them huge market in the world of SMEs. And lastly, there are many incentives, subsidies, supports, and grants available from various channels for some of these technologies. For example, at IMSME of India, we give up to 20 lakh support, 50% of the cost of the technology to our people who are going in for Industry 4.0. Similarly, there are many other technology, energy efficiency, and many other measures, where huge support is provided. So if I give a sum total, almost 1 crore rupees of subsidies and support is available for SMEs which are looking at the future, especially in the world of manufacturing. So I believe that we need to integrate ourselves as well, that those creating these technologies, bringing these solutions to entrepreneurs, consultants like Anshul Dhingra and organizations like IMSME of India, that together we can bring to the table what we have, so that there is a larger and faster and accelerated implementation of these technologies at the shop floor.
All right, Rajiv. With that, it's time for us to wrap up this conversation. Panelists, many thanks for your wonderful insights and, of course, for gauging the potential of Industry 4.0 solutions in transforming SMBs. Again, many thanks, Gurmukh Malhotra, Devendra Kamtekar, Anshul Dhingra, Rajendra Rajamani, and, of course, Rajiv Chawla. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.